I told Maya, please jump in.
Right.
Oh, we will.
We will. And yes.
Be
Okay.
careful what you ask for.
Exactly. Okay. Good morning to everybody watching us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and listening to us in Clubhouse. It's a pleasure to have you with us this morning once again. While you're commuting or getting ready for work, we appreciate your time and you're joining in with probably questions and comments later on. Today, I'm very, very glad to say welcome to a very famous person in the Japan community, expat community. Well, not expat already, long-term community here, Gary Bremermann. And welcome, Gary. Thank you very much for agreeing to be our guest speaker today. We have been wanting to get you on the podcast for quite a while, and thankfully today we have you here with us. So it's a pleasure, and once again, thanks a lot. Now, before we continue with the brief introduction by me and also giving the screen to you, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, and the first one of them is Kanchu. I'm sure that many people who have listened to us either regularly or from time to time already know the name. They are also known as Kanchu.com online, and James Howell is a person who works for them and represents them on LinkedIn as well. It's a pleasure to be talking about them here because we have worked with them for a while. James speaks Japanese, his colleagues are Japanese, he speaks English as well, so there is no language barrier there. And if you have any projects in the areas of buying and selling real estate in Yokohama, real estate investment and property management in mind, please do not hesitate and reach out to james@kanachu.com. So thank you very much for this. And also we're back now to to our guest and the podcast. So a few things I want to say. Probably most of you know Gary already. I just want to say that he is a recruiter and career coach, and he has been here in Japan for probably about 40 years already. And intermittently, you have lived here in Japan and California as well. So you are very much at least multinational, if I can say so. But I'm not going to say any more, and I'll give you the word now. So, Gary, please let us know about your Japan story, and of course, later about the topic we are going to talk about today.
Thanks very much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here. As we set this up, I'm not normally my sharpest at 8 a.m. So, it's good you motivated me to get up early and get ready. So really glad to be here. And it's funny, I just realized a couple weeks ago, I don't keep track of when I first came to Japan, but I just realized it's 40 years. I came here in March of 1985. And I was a very young man traveling around the world, and my university senpai was living here. I knew very little about Japan, and I wanted to come visit my friend, and I came to Japan, and I just fell in love. It was love at first sight. It was spring, the cherry trees were blooming. It was an amazing introduction to Japan, and that's right when the economy was booming. It was the building up of the bubble era, and it was a dynamic, exciting place to be. So Japan became my career. So my whole career has been focused on Japan. As you mentioned, Maya, I've gone back and forth between Tokyo and California, San Diego. And this time I've been here for 25 years.
Yeah.
And
wow, yes.
It's been a good run. And hopefully,
I was just going to make a quick, Gary, don't you think, like I didn't do it on the frequency you did, but I went back for 30 years. I was here 10, I went back 30. Now I've been back since 2018, right?
Yep.
Going back was very helpful because it helped me figure out who I was. Because when I was in Japan, I got kind of overly Japanized. It was kind of kimoshiwari. It was kind of creepy stuff. And it wasn't intentional. I wasn't trying to be that way. But when you're immersed and all your friends are Japanese and they're all behaving, you kind of adapt, right? I get back to America and everyone's looking at me like I'm this weird person, which I was, right?
Yeah.
But it helped me, fine tune or I don't know, figure out authentically who I am closer. And I don't know, did you feel anything like that, that it was really beneficial to go back for an extended
Yeah,
period?
for sure. And I was going to ask you, Tim, do you bow into the telephone?
I have. I've been caught doing it. I try not
Okay.
to now, but I do. My wife laughs at me when I do it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like to look at it, and that's a great point because going back does help you recalibrate or reconnect with your roots and your origins. And what the way I look at it is trying to pick the best of both worlds and bring that into my life, but
Yeah.
always remember my roots and where I'm from and the a bit of both, a mix of both, rather than going all one way or all.
Exactly. I kind of coined a term, and I use it in my seminars. I call it, you got to find your cross-cultural sweet spot where you're
Oh, that's good.
authentic. You're authentic, but you're adapting in an authentic way. And I've come to the conclusion that if you act too Japanese, that you'll creep out the Japanese. They
Yeah.
get kind of creeped out. They want you to be authentic. They don't want you to be Japanese. Yeah, they'll be
Yeah.
nice, but
Kimochi wadui is the
Kimochi waru,
yeah,
yes,
yeah, that's not
the
Kimochi. And
phrase.
they almost say it like a compliment, but there's still that truth right behind it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've come to think that way. But anyway, yeah, I love that. And I figure that's a bonding point because I was graduating from ICU in '85.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So you're right. It was
Oh,
like the
right.
peak. It was
Yeah.
the peak, man. Like there was so much work.
The good old
And
days.
but unlike you, I came here kicking and screaming. The Navy made me come, and I didn't want to come. And then within a year, all I had to do was make a couple of friends, and I was just in love with the culture and the people. Like it took me within a year, so that resonated too.
It's been a good run. It's been really no regrets. I made that decision long ago to commit to building a career around Japan, and it's been good.
Nice.
So speaking of career, I was going to mention that 23 years ago I got into recruitment, and a little bit later in my life, and like a lot of people, they come here and looking for their sweet spot, and I fell into recruitment. And man, within 6 months, I was like, this is the best job ever. Pinch me, am I dreaming? And it's like I get to talk to interesting people all the time and help them with their careers and help them find great jobs. And it just really suited me well. So I've been doing recruitment for 23 years. And then 10 years ago, I put out my shingle to do career coaching. So 2014, coming up on 11 years now. And the reason why, there's two main reasons why I got into career coaching. And one is that in the 90s, I had a business in the US. I was an entrepreneur, and I had a coach. I had a business coach that turned into a life coach. And, people have various opinions about that, but it's really a business coach, a guy as a founder of a company, the guy that helped keep me grounded. And I tell him to this day that he saved my life. He helped me find my path, and I ended up selling the business. And that's when I came back to Japan 25 years ago. So I knew about the practice of coaching, and I always wanted to be a coach, but I always felt like I didn't have that X factor or that special thing. But I realized I developed the expertise in career coaching because of recruiting. When you're a recruiter, you're on the front lines of how to find a job, how to navigate the job market, how to make big decisions about your career. And what I found is, as when I had my recruiter hat on, people would come to see me and they needed a lot of help in terms of figuring out who they are, what they're good at, and what they want to do. But as a recruiter, we really only get like 40 minutes to an hour with someone. They come in to see you and they sit across the table from me, and I say, so what would you like to do next? Or what are you looking for? And I'd meet really amazing, accomplished, successful people who would look at me like a deer in the headlights and say, I have no idea. Gary, I don't even know how I got here. Or I studied accounting in university, so I became an accountant, and I've been doing it for 20 years, but I really don't like it. Those classic stories, but it's pretty much across the board. People were not really clear on what they want to do and where they're going, where they're headed. And I wanted to do more, but in the role of recruiter, your job is to find out, what they want to do and then pitch them a job. So I wanted to put something together that could give people a lot more depth of support in what they're going through. And that's when I got into the coaching practice. And then with coaching, one-on-one coaching, it's time consuming and it doesn't scale. And so a few years back, I figured I'd put everything I know together about career transition and called it Happy Mondays. And Tim, I loved your post the other day on the happiness gurus. But I put that together, and now I'm out and about helping people connect with Happy Mondays, which provides career transition support for bilingual professionals in Japan. And I'm still recruiting and still loving it. So that's the story.
Nice.
No, I love it. Yeah. Sorry, Tim. Because
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, the other day, I met one of my former colleagues, and she shared with me that she was still looking for what next to do, because she feels tired of her current job. She has been there for over 2 decades already and wants some change. So maybe I really need to connect her with you, so that she can talk with you, and also the Happy Mondays project as well.
Thank you. Yeah, everybody needs like someone to bounce ideas off of, or someone to give them a framework for how to think through those things. And we're not really taught that in school. We do get guidance from parents and peers. We have our colleagues at work, or you have your boss whose main objective is to get you to work hard and generate results in the position you're in. But I find that people, we spend most of our time working in our jobs, but not enough time working on our careers. And so one of the things I do is I encourage people to block out time, like a regular time every month, to work on your career. Just 1 hour. If you spend 1 hour a month saying, okay, I'm going to sit down and think deeply about what's happening in my career, and looking back, looking at the present, looking at the future, using a framework, then you're way ahead of the vast majority of other people that are just kind of going along to get along, or, working to pay the bills, which is very valid. But people do have a lot more options than they think they do.
Yeah. And you have to survive,
Absolutely.
I feel like right now, due to the job market, your services are even more valuable. And I was thinking about myself, my career. I was in the right place at the right time, just dumb luck in Japan, 85. There's tons of opportunity. Like, there was so much opportunity. You could go in so many different directions, right? And so I didn't know what I wanted to do at all. I had zero idea. I just knew I wanted to do something related to Japan and interfacing Japanese people with other folks, right? That was my fuzzy. I just took whatever was available. Oh, okay, manufacturing. Okay, I'll get into that. I knew nothing about it. It wasn't even my strength, but I did it, and I learned, and I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it. I just studied it. And then I got burned out on it. But in the end, it helped me. I was paying my dues, but it helped me later when I found my job, which was, when I started my own business. That helped me. That made me better at what I eventually evolved into.
For sure. Yeah.
So I wasn't there, but that was then. That was when there was opportunity, and I could, even if I didn't like something, I could find something else. It was easy. Now,
those were the days.
It requires more finesse now, right?
And skill building, and and more strategy and tactics to move towards what it is. So I give away a free ebook called 7 Steps to Career Clarity. Yeah. And it walks you through a 7-step process that helps you get more clear on, who you are, what you're good at, what you want to do. But the first step is your story. So you just shared your story, and looking back, you can find clues in what you did that can inform what you'd like to do in the future. And we don't spend enough time looking back, like, what was your favorite job? I mean, I bet, Tim, you've done a ton of different jobs over the years, as you know, many of us have. It's like, what was your favorite job? What was the best part about it? And you know, who were your role models, or who were your inspiration? Just asked a lot of prompt questions to think about that. So to get a clear view of the future, you should understand about the past, and then you take stock of where you are, and then you figure out what that thing is in the future. And it's not rocket science, but it's a distillation of, you know, centuries of career development wisdom that I've put into a 25-page ebook, like a workbook that helps you go through that process.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you did that. Yeah, and the Happy Mondays concept. Hey, for the record, I have nothing against happiness. Yeah, it's the guys who do these feel good events, and everybody gets all jacked up, and they're motivational speakers, and then they just nothing gets better. And I just want to recommend a book to everybody. It's both informative and it's hilarious. And I can't think of the guy's name. He's a British author, but it's called Happiness for People Who Can't Stand Positive Thinking. And it's a great book. The title had me. They had me at the title, right?
Written for curmudgeons. Yeah.
It's a curmudgeonly book, but I thought it was very enlightening. And you know, it was funny. He's a very witty writer, so but he's still, it's very factual, you know. So I really enjoyed it, and
track that down.
It's more about those feel good gurus. They're peddling feel good, you know.
Yeah. So keep in mind, I'm from California, right? And I'm from the epicenter of feel good stuff. Yeah, I used to play tennis with the guys who sold seminars for Tony Robbins.
There you go. Right. I didn't want to mention any names.
Tony Robbins, but you know what I mean. It's the seminar, and they're seminar junkies. Yeah. But really, for me, I called the project Happy Mondays, and the point of that is to wake up on most Monday mornings, not every Monday morning, happy about the work week ahead.
Right.
What I do is super practical. It's super, it's not dream it and it will happen, or do what you love and the money will follow. Here are practical things you can do to put yourself in a position where on most Monday mornings you wake up going, oh, great, I'm going to work today. I'm going to have an impact. I'm going to do things that I enjoy doing. It's not going to be all rainbows and unicorns, but it's going to be a good week. And that's what my mission is, to help people get to that point.
Yeah. If you don't mind me getting into the weeds a little bit here, I want to say that my best friend's father back home, he was always like that. So I would hear from her that every morning he woke up, he would say, yes, this is the way, to do great things at work. And that has stayed with me. And I think that I have seen or met a couple of other people like that. And I believe that for some people, it's a kind of easier to get to that point. So back then, when I was at home, there was no coaching, okay? There was nothing like that. There was no culture of coaching. There was no culture of happiness. We were going through a very difficult period economically as a country, as a nation. But still, there were some people who were like that. And I have met some people here in Japan as well. So why do you think we lose this? I believe that children are much better equipped at doing, getting to the point of understanding what they want to do. Maybe subconsciously, right? It's not a conscious process for them. But why do we lose that ability? And what do we need to do in order to regain it?
Yeah.
Oh, now we're getting into the weeds.
Yes. Sorry for that.
She warned you.
Yeah.
Now
no,
we're in the weeds,
fire away. All good. Well, so one of the, I have these, when I do my videos, I say I help bilingual professionals in Japan accelerate your career growth and find more joy in the work you do. And part of that is actually looking for the things that bring you joy. I sound like Comme Marie,
Right.
looking for things that bring you joy and putting yourself in a position where some of the activities in your work really give you pleasure and enjoyment, and you find and you start focusing on that. And Tim, you had talked about being grateful, being
Yeah.
grateful and really focusing and appreciating on the parts of your work that are joyful, and accepting the fact that it's not all rainbows and unicorns. You do have to, it's work, and it's sometimes it can be rough. So I talk about finding more joy in the work you do, and you increase the ability to have those joyous components of your working life when you're in a job that's aligned with your strengths, that's really aligned with your values. I call it the values, mission, vision exercise. Most people talk about it as mission, vision, values. Values come first. If you're in a company that's not aligned with your values, or the company's doing things that are not right, but you're there because you need a job, there's nothing wrong with that. You do need to make a salary, or generate revenue to put a roof over your head and food on the table. But you can gravitate towards something that's giving you more of those joyous moments. Another thing too, and this may be, Tim, on the happiness thing, is that some people tend to focus on the negatives. You have a bad boss, or you have a bad situation.
Yeah.
We tend to and this is a psychological thing, and that's one thing. I'm not a psychologist or a therapist or anything like that, but some people just tend to focus on the bad things that happen, or the bad parts of their work. That takes up 80% of their psychic space.
Right.
So it's like
bandwidth.
Yeah. So look for the things that are bringing you joy, and then move towards a position that the work you do is bringing you more of that. And I've had that experience. Like, I'm really happy with the work I do now. It's taken me a long time to get here, and I've been through some super rough times. But when I was younger, I had a job in a retail store, and I was, basically a retail clerk, and I absolutely love that job. And I was like, you
mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, get up in the morning. It's like, cool, I'm going to work.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Maya and I have touched on the topic of, looking at things positively, but more in the context of, there are non-Japanese folks who move to Japan, and a certain portion of them fall in love with the place, like me, like you, like Maya. And then another portion, they complain all the time, and they're always talking about the negatives. And a lot of the stuff they say is true. It's just not balanced. Like, to me, Maya and I always talk about this. The pluses really outweigh the minuses, at least for us, in how we do it.
Yeah.
And so there's one thing about focusing on the pluses, right? There's also, I think, at least for me, like, I did jobs like manufacturing wasn't fun. It wasn't my natural habitat. I'm more of an artsy guy. But to me, I said, okay, the work is kind of tedious, but I can learn. So, like, I created a positive. Say, okay, no delusions that I'm going to be president of this Japanese company someday. I know there's a ceiling. I'm just going to learn as much as I can in the shortest period of time. And then I'm going to put that in my pocket, and I'm going to look for new opportunities in the future. That's how I was, very practical. So the learning part was my sweetness. That's how I sweeten the pot, by approaching it that way.
Yep. Yeah. And that's great. And people can learn. Sometimes people just need a reminder to find that sweetness, that you may not be in the ideal situation, but look for the sweetness, and over time you can gravitate towards more of that sweetness. One of the questions I ask people when they come in to see me, when my recruiter hat is on, is I say, if you could wave a magic wand, what would your next job look like? So it's kind of this idealization. And in the ebook, the 7 Steps to Clarity ebook, one of the steps is your dream jobs. So it puts you through a process where you think about what your ideal, there's 2 jobs. One is the fantasy job. So it could be anything, no limitations, no restrictions. What would be your fantasy job? And then what would be a practical, realistic, but a stretch goal direction that you want to go in.
Mhm.
And looking at that fantasy job, you can find clues as to what might be components of that actual realistic job. So Tim, you're going to laugh. I know you're an accomplished guitarist, but I would love to be a singer in a rock band. That's my fantasy job. I'm sharing my fantasies with you early Wednesday morning, but I can't sing. It's totally impractical. I could maybe do death metal, but
lots of screaming.
Yeah, a path not taken. But out of being realistic, you have to be realistic. So I don't tell people to go be a rock singer, go be prime minister or an astronaut or whatever. But I encourage people to think about what that thing would be, because then you can find it in other vocations.
It's so funny you brought that up, because I was going to, right before you said that, I was going to say, like, oh, by the way, that's our alarm for our
halfway.
It's a 2-minute warning for our mid break. But oh God, I lost my thought now because of that.
You said you were going to say before I said about the singing, you were going to say something.
Oh yeah. Okay, I was going to use that, because I've told my son this. I said, you want your ideal job if you can. If there's a dream job, then you should pursue it. However, if you got to pay the bills, at the very least, do a job you don't hate that you're good at, and your passion is on the side. And that's kind of like me. I wish I could be a great jazz singer, guitarist. I'll never be that good. I haven't been playing long enough. I started really way late in life, right? But I'm not horrible. Like I don't have a great voice. It's okay, and if I practice, it'll get better. So my passion is not my work, it's my hobby. And I get lots of and now that I'm retired, I could do that a lot, right? But do you agree with that advice, that in the meantime, you got to pay the bills, try to find something at least you don't hate and you're good at, but pursue your passion on the side, and maybe that will develop into something. Is that
and and that's the practical element of what I advise. Reality is reality, and you do got to pay the rent, or pay your mortgage and put food on the table, whatever it is. And I do encourage people to find joy outside of work as well. I mean, that's a common thread here, where the salaried people are working so hard, they're exhausted on weekends. They don't have an outlet outside of work. So finding things outside of work. But another thing I talk about in the course, in the Career Kaizen course, is skill stacking. And so while you're working, adding new skills that move you towards your dream job, or that make you more valuable in the marketplace. And it's amazing now. We're been from another generation. Now with the internet, you can take online courses, and in 15, 20 minutes a day or a week or whatever you can allocate to it, you can add to your skill set. And I just bought a course on vibe coding.
Right.
Yeah, the new trendy thing. And someone I know developed a course, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy that and take it. And it's like way out of my kind of sweet spot, but it's adding to my knowledge and know-how. It gives me an understanding of what's possible for non-coders to code. And some developers may be laughing at me saying that now, but it's really interesting. It's super fun. But adding skill stacking, and we all need to do it. And that's a topic for another day, but things are changing so fast, and
how do you keep up? That's the question.
Keeping up. And for more senior people to keep up is absolutely vital. So anyhow, I don't know how we got there, but
Okay, well, this is a good segue to our mid half hour into it commercial, right?
Right. Yes. Yes. Well, this is another word of thank you. This time it is to our other sponsor, Houze, or as they are also known, Houze Inc. They're available online, they're available via email, and they're based in Yokohama. So, of course, if you live in the area of Yokohama, and have any ideas of doing projects in custom home design and construction or commercial building construction, please do not hesitate to reach out to them and talk with them, either in English or in Japanese. You can connect with Hana Urushizawa Howell there, and the contact details of Hana are in the description of the video on YouTube. You have probably met her and James already. We just want to remind you once again that they're great people to work with, great professionals. So, and we're very happy to be able to represent them here as well. So, once again, back to the conversation and back to the skill stacking. So, I wanted to say one thing to that while listening to you, Gary, and to your team, that it's important really to keep updating, because improving is very important, right? But updating your skills is just well underrated. And I also think that many schools teach that, especially business schools teach that. But I think that it becomes more difficult as we become older, right? So with age, we somehow tend to settle into our own ways. So how do you beat that inertia? How do you get over it? Is there a way to do it, Gary? Or I don't know. Do we need to actually work on ourselves before we're able to do that?
Yeah, it's a couple things, and one is your intrinsic motivation to continually to add skills, and that's on you as an individual. But the thing that I do, I keep coming back to the Happy Mondays project, is it's a a platform and a foundation where I'm nudging people gently, sometimes not so gently. One of the modules in the Career Kaizen course is that skill stacking, and just to have someone give you a little push or a little nudge. So it's both internal, you're on your own, you're the captain of your own ship, but it's almost like it's the wind or that pushes you, or the tide that pushes you in the direction that you need to go in. So it's external and internal. But the reality is, if you're just looking at the world, things are changing fast, technologically, the political landscape, the macroeconomic landscape, and everyone in a professional capacity needs to be paying attention to how things are going.
How to adapt. Yeah.
And I've been, using the Wayne Gretzky saying of like, go where the puck is going. Not where it is now, but where's the puck going, and go, move in that direction, and you'll score a goal.
That,
yeah. So, and like you said, Maya, people kind of get comfortable, they get set in their ways. I recruit advertising and marketing professionals, and I've had some of the more senior folks, that this was 10 years ago, maybe, say, Gary, he was maybe in his early mid 50s, and very senior position. He goes, Gary, I'm analog. I have no interest in digital.
No interest. Okay, wow, that's scary.
An analog person. It's like, well, good luck with that.
Right.
I hope you slide into retirement age and not have to pick up any new skills. But yeah, it's really important to stay on top. So back to your question, Maya, it's the internal and external. And it's nice to have others to give you a nudge. It doesn't have to be me or a course or anything. I actually have a accountability partner, and that's actually another module in the course, is the power of accountability partnership.
Mm-hmm.
So I have someone that we've been accountability partners for coming up on 6 years now. And we keep each other's moving forward, and we speak on the phone 30 minutes every 2 weeks. How's it going? What are you doing? What are the challenges you're facing? How can I help you? Or we come to the call with an issue, this is what's going on. What do you think about this? And we nudge each other forward. And it's really nice to have someone, we're both motivated people, but it's nice to have someone else to give you that nudge or give you a different perspective. And not everybody has that. And it's hard to find the right person to do that with. But I bring it up because it's that external nudge and not just my own internal intrinsic motivation.
I think
Right.
Maya and I kind of informally have that relationship. We talk a
Yes,
lot offline, right, and bounce stuff
we
off
do.
each other.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Great.
I think the internal piece is what really I believe is important because, and this applies to me as well. You know, like when you see the rapid change, and just now with the current political landscape and everything that's going on, like to me, it feels like a mental skill or a strength to be able to say, okay, whether I like this or not, this is the new reality, and nobody knows what's going to happen
Hmm.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you can either go into panic mode or you can go into opportunity seeking mode. But I think the latter mode requires confidence in your ability to adapt. And to me, it's easy to break it down and explain it, but to actually have the mental aptitude and power to put yourself in that positive mindset, to me, that's the challenge for a lot of people, no?
Yeah. And not everyone can do it. And that's okay. You know, we're all different. We're all built differently. We all have different, points of view and skill sets. But those that do adapt thrive. And those that
But I
do,
also, don't you
yeah.
think though your happy Mondays would maybe help those people see opportunity that they otherwise on their own to their own devices wouldn't be able to see,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It gets them thinking about what's possible
Right,
and reminds them. And that's the external nudge. But you have to have that internal drive as well. Um,
right.
And when I first started doing Happy Mondays, a lot of my, how I positioned it was for ambitious and motivated professionals. And it is for ambitious and motivated professionals. But I think when I say that, some people will self-select out of that category
Hmm.
because, oh, I'm not that ambitious or I'm not
I
that
got you, got you.
motivated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
want people to come to it, and maybe, just maybe, I can give them a bit more ambition and a bit more motivation to do the things that you can do, everyone can do, to advance their careers.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yes, and I believe that everybody needs a first step. So because many people lack that confidence because they haven't tried, right? So and maybe they say, "Oh, I'm not that ambitious," because they're probably settled in their job and they think that it's quite comfortable, even they don't like it. There is some stability there, right? And it
Mhm.
puts food and food on the table, roof above their heads, and so on and so on. But at the same time, if they get a chance to make that first step, then probably it will help them build the confidence of going further. And many people don't. So is there something which we can do to help such people take the first step? Maybe offer an opportunity or tell them, yeah, why don't try it, without putting too much pressure on them.
Yeah.
So, coming to this podcast, I didn't want to just come and talk about the thing that I'm doing and, all of that, but it's giving people a framework. So in the Career Kaizen course, there are 24 learning modules. And my thesis is, which is proven to be true in real life, is that if you learn about and focus on these 24 things, you're going to see a positive impact on your career growth and job satisfaction. So it's not just about making more money or getting a raise or whatever, and that's nice too. But going back to the finding happiness or finding joy in the work you do, like Tim in the manufacturing job, where, helped you, if it can help you see that sweetness, find more sweetness in the job that you're doing. So they're different, the different 24 different modules, and I'm not going to run through them, but it's like, here are 24 things. If you learn about them and then master them over time, your career trajectory is going to go like this instead of like that.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so little steps, baby steps, confidence building. As mentioned earlier, if you block out 1 hour per month to work on your career, no matter where you're at, if you say, okay, on the third Saturday at 10 a.m., I'm going to sit down with a pen and paper And, I provide some videos and nudges to, what to think about or things to look at. But even if you don't do any of that, if you just say, I'm going to spend an hour thinking deeply about my current situation and future career path, and, and what are two things you can do between now and the next session with yourself, the next meeting with yourself, to make progress. And it's, 1% improvement over time becomes a lot.
Right. Yeah, it does indeed. And I think that a lot of people talk about this, doing just 1% every week, or if you can every day, it's fine too, but every week or every month, then magic happens down the road.
Yeah. I just on the not ambitious point, because I kind of was thinking about that, Maya, you added to it. I think, and actually, Gary, you mentioned it, you alluded to it. The nuance of ambitious is, I'm looking for more money, I'm looking for a title, and that's my focus. And I might self-select not to do it because money came with my development, but that wasn't my motivation. My motivation was to learn, and my motivation wasn't titles. It really wasn't. It was just to learn and move on eventually, because that was kind of how I ended. It wasn't a plan. It was just waiting for the next opportunity, right?
Yep.
So to me, I was ambitious about my self-development, but I wasn't necessarily ambitious in the monetary title-seeking sense. So maybe it makes sense that some people might not participate.
Self-select out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the money part, one of the things I do is I teach salary negotiation. I help people, go into a salary negotiation, whether it's for a new job or asking for a raise at your current job. And the emphasis isn't on, I want more money so I can, take a vacation or buy a new bag, or, it's, I want to be paid fairly in the job that I'm in. And as a recruiter, I know everybody's salary, and people come to me, and sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, this person's so underpaid. And, you don't have to be ambitious to get paid more.
Right.
Getting paid fairly. And so I share with people how to position yourself so that you get paid fairly. And there are too many people, in my opinion, that are not paid fairly.
Sure.
And getting to that point. And it's not about chasing money or chasing fame or chasing status. It's getting in.
Right. Not being paid.
Developing yourself. And
fairly. I get you.
But I think everyone can agree on that getting paid fairly is a fundamental.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. Okay, good.
Hey, may I interject with something out of the
please.
Yes.
This sounds like a setup, but I don't know if I mentioned to you, but I bought a place out in Chiba. I know it's not Yokohama, but James and Hana helped me buy the place.
Woohoo! Yes.
That makes me so happy to hear that.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't a big deal for them, compensation wise, but they were so helpful to me. And so, I recommend them to others, and especially if you're in the Yokohama area. But, if anything related to buy land, build a house, buy a investment property, really good people. So, and you didn't ask me to say anything, but
we didn't. But thank you. But I agree with you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, we do.
So
and
James
I do too.
Anna, this was not for naught. None of this has been for naught.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For using that.
Enthusiastic thumbs up for
Right on.
James and Hana.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Yes.
Back to the previous scheduled
programming.
Yes. Yeah, no, this is fascinating. And again, I really repeat myself, but in our podcasts and also offline conversations with Tim, I usually say that dots connect backwards. And sometimes when we struggle, go through a difficult period, it's very difficult, sometimes impossible to find the meaning of why things are happening the way they are. But I believe that not everything happens for a reason, but you can
give it a reason.
You give it a reason, as Tim says. You give it a reason, and then eventually, on the way down or the way up, you make the best out of what happened to you. And once again, that's the meaning I
And
put
those
it.
are the growth times. If you
Yeah,
look back objectively, it sucked at the time, but you survived
And you
yeah.
learn something from it,
and you
for
learned
sure.
something.
Mhm.
Exactly. And usually the adversity, overcoming it is what gives you the big boost. It's
Yeah.
painful, but it's also beneficial sometimes, you know.
We'd like to skip the pain though, but sometimes it can't be helped.
It can't be helped. We want to avoid it, but yeah, you're right. You
Yeah.
can't. And that's sort of Jason Ball made a great, point that he was talking about challenging finding work in Japan with limited Japanese, and he said I had no idea I'd love or flourish in, because he didn't speak Japanese, right? He couldn't find that. But he says sometimes the magic wand reflects an ideal that doesn't exist, and I think we all would agree with that. But if you don't try it, how would you know? That's kind
Yeah.
of my
Yes.
follow up to it. If you don't do it, you won't know, right? Okay,
Aim,
I
aim
don't
for
want
the
to do this,
stars.
but I learned a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot the stars, hit the moon.
Right. And
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
can interject a little bit, yes, indeed, I agree with what James said, but something
Jason.
what Jason said, but something that you mentioned earlier, Gary, is that we do have to update our skills and skill stacking and so on. At the same time, I don't want to actually discard or what's that? Another better word. There is a better word in English to
Dismiss.
dismiss people who just have lost or they have missed the train, because I know a person, who is not in Tokyo, so she is in Shizuoka, and she actually, up until today, she cannot use computer, and
Mm.
she's good with smartphones and this and that, and she does administrative job, which is really beyond me how she missed the train. But at the same time, that person, she compensates with something different. So she lives in that kind of closed community, and everybody in the community knows her, and they know her because she helps everybody there, the elderly, to do this and that, or to informs them what they need to do in case of disasters and this and anything else. And so she has found a way basically to be helpful to her community, to be accepted there, and still to make a living, right, even without being able to upskill. And of course, I'm not saying that this is a good thing to do, but there is hope for those who cannot do it, right? And of course, if you are living in a big city, I believe that it's very difficult not to look for what you should do next and what you should learn next. But if you are somewhere in the countryside and small communities, there is hope, and there are ways to find your calling there as well.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can't.
that's a great point, Maya. And
Yeah.
I don't want it to come off as it's like it's all about the people with drive and ambition and always updating their skills, because there's a place in this world for everybody. Recently, I just discovered this Japanese woman. I forget her name, but she's down in Singapore, and she's really making a push for understanding and accepting and integrating people who are neurodiverse
Mm-hmm.
into society and into the workplace. And it's, the challenges here of people who are not neurotypical and finding their way into to build a career. And everyone, we all have our own challenges and issues and things that are unseen in the background, and
Mhm.
how to be accepting and open and supportive of everyone,
Mm-hmm.
not just be full blown hard charge ahead, and if you get left behind, that's on you. And that's one of the things I like about one of the many things I like about Japan is the social safety net is good here, and the sense of community and collaboration is I have to say a lot better than from where I'm from, where
Yeah,
people get left behind and do
for sure.
so that's a very good point, Maya. Thank you.
You can't devalue the power of human connection and relationships. I mean, the technical stuff has to be built on that foundation. And I say that Maya and I say this all the time, even when we train people. Don't underestimate the power of building a relationship, because like everything else gets better. Your communication gets better, your teamwork gets better, but don't devalue that and skip to the system side of things, because that's the foundation. And so your example, Maya, is somebody who maintained that the power of human connection within the community by contributing, voluntarily, doing it, from the bottom of their heart, from the goodness of them. So, I think these are skills that have become devalued, almost subliminally, like not consciously, so we're here to reignite that.
Well, and I'm happy to connect with your audience, not in a systematic way, but in a human way. I had lunch with a guy yesterday, and we were talking about the importance of making human connections and building a network. And one of the modules is on, building a network. And Jason Ball is, a big believer.
Sure, he is.
Yes, human connections.
Absolutely.
And we talked about encouraging younger people to consider what you just said, Tim, the importance of making those human bonds, because they're behind the screens and connecting with people online and engaging with people online, and big believer in meeting people in real life. And even if it's awkward, having conversations and finding common ground with people.
Creating spaces where people are comfortable, where they're engaged. It's comfort and engagement, right? So the thing is, I came to this truism the other day. You were talking about neurodiverse, and I feel like the older I get, the more I realize every one of us, every human on this planet is weird. We're all weird.
What?
Somewhere we're all
better
somewhere
than others. Some of us hide it better than others, right?
Yes.
I think we're all weird. If you kind of start from that premise, then it's a different kind of weird. There's 8 billion flavors of weird, right? And to me, that creates a framing for acceptance. I don't know.
Hey, that could be a book title: 8 billion flavors of weird.
There you go.
I love that. Yes.
I like it.
And we should start really from a very early age to teach our kids that everybody is weird in their own way. So
yeah.
And so here goes. Here's the ambitious, motivated Gary story. Is I might have a daughter, and even when she was little, I would tell her, and her name's Maya, by the way, great name, Maya. And I would tell her, it's like, Maya-chan, learn how to sell, and you'll always have a job.
right.
And that's actually one of the, keep going back to the modules in the course, but it's everybody sells. There's a great book by Daniel Pink, To Sell is Human. And, the ability to communicate and persuade. I'm not telling her to be a salesperson, but it's like, learn how to sell, learn how to persuade. You have to sell yourself for a job.
Sell an idea, everything.
Yeah. So I'm a big believer, even though most of my life I've been a salesperson, but those fundamental sales skills, and you can learn them. And I that book by Daniel Pink is really accessible. It's really good.
Okay.
Really fun read.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of it. I always go back to Edward T. Hall's quote, and he was talking about intercultural communication, but to me it applies to all communication. He says it's not about sending the right message, it's about getting a desired response. And embedded in that wisdom is that communication is strategic, and you're selling an idea, you're selling a response, you're eliciting a response. So you have to be strategic. And, it kind of applies to salesmanship. Salesmen know this instinctively.
Yes. Yeah. But everyone could learn the fundamentals, or have an understanding, or, and I recruit marketing people, and marketing people often say, I hate sales. I don't want to do anything. It's like, well, David Ogilvy said that advertising is sales in print or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
But
It
it's
is. It is indeed.
yeah. So
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great.
Yes.
Do you have any closing remarks? Like how can people get a hold of you? What do you want to any links for us to share?
LinkedIn. Yeah, connecting with me on LinkedIn is probably the best way to kind of enter my sphere of influence, or whatever you want to call it. My world of weirdness.
Yeah.
My flavor of weird. LinkedIn is good, and on LinkedIn I post some video tips and some links to interesting articles and stuff. But what I have in Happy Mondays, the ebook, I give the ebook away to anybody who asks for it. Just about to launch a weekly newsletter, the Happy Mondays Weekly. Cool. The course is at careerkaizencourse.com. So you can learn about the course and see what the 24 modules are. And yeah, and in Happy Mondays, it's both online and offline. So people who buy the course become a member of the Happy Mondays community, and we meet up, talk about human connections. We meet up once a quarter and hang out. Super casual, nothing serious, nothing fancy. And it's those human connections that are really, deeply enjoyable and valuable.
Wow. And this is kind of a little side note, but it's semi-related to what you just said. Right now, times are tough, like the job market, the chaos, and it's nice to have an oasis of where people can, have get in a positive frame of mind. And this is all coincidence. Like 3 days ago, I decided I wanted to learn how to play and sing Wonderful World on guitar, right? So I started, I'm only a few days into it, so I can't do it. But I went and I looked at the history of the song. And that song was written in the 60s, right after Kennedy and Martin Luther King were assassinated and the Vietnam War was raging and there was chaos. And these guys come in and they wrote this song for Louis Armstrong specifically, but they wrote this song because they wanted to, I guess, create this positive, that there are wonderful things in life to look at, in the midst of this chaos, right? And this I think he was a music promoter who was really liked Louis Armstrong. He came to their session where they were recording and he hated the song. And he started disrupting he wanted to be like Hello Dolly, where it was upbeat.
Right.
Because he thought, right? He hated it. And they actually had to throw him out of the studio. They locked him out. And this was all night. They recorded all night till like 6 a.m. There were train whistles. They had to stop, it's a really interesting story. And the song became a big hit in the UK. And it didn't become a hit in the US because this guy wouldn't promote it.
Oh, wow.
And it became famous with Good Morning Vietnam when Robin Williams played it in that movie. And then it had this big revival.
It's a classic.
It's a beautiful song. The chords are so beautiful. It's just a beautiful song. But anyway, I thought about that because that was during a really tough, dark time where they created this happy song.
Find the joy.
That resonated with people, so kind of
awesome.
A metaphor for what we're doing,
Sweet. Yeah, sweet. Yes. Well, Gary, thank you so very much for coming to the podcast today and taking time, actually making time for it, because
getting up early.
And getting up
we
early,
apologize for that.
I'm a night owl.
Right.
Go take a nap now.
Yes, it was a great conversation. I hope that we'll continue it. And also,
it was fun. Let's do it again.
Yes, there is another topic that you suggested as well, which is very interested in very, very, let's say, up to date. So, which I would love to talk about at the soonest, actually, opportunity. Yes.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
And come out to Tommy and we'll have lunch sometime.
Will do. I'd love to. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you
very much.
Yeah.
And yes.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Douglas, for your comment, and Jason and Timothy and everybody who watched. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank
See
you.
Later. Bye.
See you later. And one more for our sponsors.